All right. So in the last 2 years, me and my wife, we've started this business. It's been really amazing because we've been able to help tons of different people grow their own businesses through marketing, sales, and systems. And these are like the top 8 metrics that I've personally learned help the most people scale beyond, 6-figure month or 6-figure years into those 7-figure years. And it's also like what has helped us the most scaling because we quickly hit a ceiling at about 2 to 250 a year in our run rate. And once we started tracking these metrics more, we were able to quickly scale to 7 figures. And this is all because data is not going to solve your problems, but it's going to tell you what your problems are and what you need to solve to be able to move forward. So, just starting off, we're going to start with lead gen here. And there's basically 4 types of lead gen. There's going to be paid, there's going to be referral, there's going to be cold reach out, and then there's the type of lead gen that we specialize in here at Laney Media, and that's content marketing, where you publish content onto all the different social platforms or whatever channel you're using. People see that content, are engaged by it, and then come to you. So the number one metric that I like to track when it comes to this is impressions. And there's one other metric that you could argue comes before this, and we'll talk about that here in a second, and also why it is not on this list. So, impressions, this is extremely important because think of this almost as if it's like your top of funnel. It's everyone who has eyes on you. And the thing is if people don't see you, if they don't know who you are, quite simply put, how are they going to buy from you? So, impressions are the number one thing I like to look at. If you're not getting impressions, you're not going to be making sales at all. The next thing I like to look at is profile views. Okay. This is important because, as they, if 1 million people, oh, wow. Yeah, that looks right. See your content. Only so many of those people, and typically that number is going to be about 3%. Anytime you have someone click, you're only going to get about 3% of the people to actually do it, unless you have a really high conversion rate. But 3% is pretty standard. You only have about 3% click through, so you'd only have, if you had 1 million people see your content in a month, you should expect, and if you're having good conversion rates and you're having good CTA, it's like a reason for them to go to your profile. You should see about 30K pop through to your profile. Now, this is important because, of course, your profile has your next most important metric that I like to track in there when it comes to your lead gen, and that's your link views. Now, a little trick here, you can link to a lot of different things, but what I have personally found makes the biggest difference when it comes to having a really high conversion rate. If you are in high ticket sales, you want to link directly to an application form or to a call booking that then redirects to an application form or vice versa. This is because if you're like linking to a website, then you have to have really good copy. You're going to have them click again to then go to the call booking form, so on and so forth. If you can catch them right there when they're hot, coming off of viewing your content, because here's what a lot of people fail to consider. I think they need the website to have copy on their website to sell them. They send them to a sales page, a landing page, and they think you need to sell them on your product or services. But when you're doing content marketing, this isn't someone you picked up off the street. They've probably seen your videos before. In fact, they've probably watched a lot of your content before, and they finally saw a piece of content that was, they finally saw a piece of content that was activating to them to get them to go click through to your profile and then to your lead form. And because they've already seen your content before, that's like reading, if you're doing your content correctly, it's like reading an entire sales page, if not more. Because it's video, it's sound, you have text on the screen, you should be text on those subtitles, very important. And it gives you so many different ways to interact with them and convince them of your philosophies and the way that you do things, that by the time they get to that application form, you don't need to sell them again with another sales page. When you have a sales page, you're just going to lose more people in that drop off. And then the last thing that I like to track here are applications that are coming through. And this is kind of like a dual metric between the two things I like to track on lead gen and sales, if you will. Because quite simply put, at the end of the day, you need to know how many call bookings you're getting. It's going to be vitally important for you making sales in your business. And, for people, if you're doing a high ticket, if you're running an agency model, if you're doing a SaaS model, these will all be tweaked a little bit, but this is typically the things that you want to look at to see if your content's converting. Because at the end of the day, when you're content marketing, you're going to have this base funnel where you have impressions at the top, then you have people going to your profile, then link views and applications. Now, there's one exception here because there's one other really good way to get people to your link where they want to see your content or buy. And that's instead of going to the profile, you can switch this out on occasion. Again, this isn't what I recommend doing, especially if you haven't hit a 7-figure run rate. But if you're, doing $500,000 a year, sometimes this can make the difference in getting you there. And that's looking at your stories, especially on Instagram and Facebook, because you can embed those links, or I can't remember what they're called, the buttons. Buttons have an extremely high engagement rate as well. You can get people where you want to go through those. So stories can also be a vital one that I link to profile views, because it will get you right back to those quote unquote link views. Okay. So that covers everything for lead gen here. If you're tracking all of this stuff, if you have a spreadsheet where you can see how many impressions you're getting, profile views, link views, applications, you can see, like, if you're getting 1 million views and you're having, 200 people get back to your profile a month, something's wrong with your content as to why people aren't being engaged and looking for ways to work with you. And if you're getting down here to like link views and you have a link tree with like 80 different links in it, and you're only, let's say you're getting like 5,000 link views a month, you're only getting like 20 call bookings, you can tell that, well, there's something wrong in my link. That's where the holdup's getting, because I'm not getting the applications I should be getting from that. Okay. So now that we have lead gen figured out, this is the other thing that's going to allow you to scale to 7 figures. And this is on the sales side of things, because you can have all the leads in the world, but if you can't convert those leads into paying customers, you don't have a business. So we're going to start off with that dual. I don't technically count this twice in the 8 metrics, but I always count it at the beginning again, because this is very important in calculating all of the other fields that you're going to want to track on your sales side. So we start off with applications again, and that is directly correlated to your live calls that you're going to have. Cool. Now, if you take your live calls, you divide by your total applications, you're going to get your show rate. And these two things are vitally important, because this is like the number of opportunities. Forgive me if I spell something wrong or you can't read it. Not exactly my forte. So this is the number of opportunities either you or your closer are going to have to close. And then your show rate, you're going to want to above, no matter what, 60%. Ideally, you want to push for 80. Cool. If you're really like below 60%, you're going to have a really hard time, retracting closers to come do your sales calls, and also retaining your closers. Okay. Because they have a call booking. If there's only a 50% chance someone's going to show up, let's say they had 8 call bookings a day. Well, that's really only 4 call bookings. Okay. So you want to get that number as high as possible. That way they're not wasting their time. Their job is to make you money. And if you're taking the sales calls as, the solopreneur in the beginning, you need to be making sure those people are showing up to your calls, because, that time is very valuable to you and your business, because it can be time spent on marketing, system development, offer development, etc. Okay. Now, once you have show rate and live calls, the next thing you're going to want to track here are the number of closes you're getting. Okay. And this directly correlates to how much money you're making. What I'd also recommend doing here as a sub metric, this isn't necessary, but it's really good if you're, already tracking this, is you can just track your average cart value here. And what that lets you do is see, like, on average per close, how much money you're making. This is just really good because you can see like what your revenue is going to be, right, from all of that. Coolio. And then the last thing you're really going to want to track here is your close rate. And this is vitally important, especially if you have closers. Because if you're doing high ticket sales, for example, and you're doing content marketing, these aren't cold leads. So they should be closing, above 30% with these warmed up leads. Cool. Now, the one exception here is if you have a lot of short form content, okay? Because short form content, as amazing as it is to get eyeballs on you and your stuff, it doesn't have the same effect that long form content, or even like static posts do, where people like see that content and read it again and again before publishing, because short form content can be extremely activating, and you can get people who've just seen 1 or 2 videos of yours applying, and they might not be 100% qualified or already sold on your services. Like if they just watched like 5-10 minute long YouTube videos and spent the last 50 minutes obsessing over you. Okay, so that's the one exception here as to why a close rate might not be as high as possible. But if you have a good mix of short form and long form, all organic, all of this content marketing coming in, they should really be closing upwards of 30%. If you have someone who's closing less than 20%, you really need to reassess what is going on there. You need to be looking at those applications you have coming in. You need to be rating them. You need to be looking at their sales skills. You need to be doing quality control. You need to be watching back, their sales calls and providing feedback. Because if you're, closing less than 20%, you're just leaving money on the table. If you went from 20 to 30% on your close rate, you're going to increase your business by 50%. Right there, no change in lead flow. Okay? So, and again, like I said in the beginning, all of this data isn't going to solve your problems. It's just going to tell you what your problems are. Because if, like I said, if you can tell you have like someone who's closing at 10 or 20%, boom, that's your problem right there. You want to double your business. You want to go from 250 to 500K a year, and you have someone who's closing at 10%, get them up to 20%. You don't even have to change your lead flow or your marketing. Okay. So, but if you did that and doubled your lead flow, you'd be doing $1 million a year. Okay. Now, obviously, it's not quite that simple, because you also have to have fulfillment on the back end, and then like customer service becomes a thing, and you need to be making sure you're legally sound, and then you have taxes and all of these other things build up. I'm gonna make other videos on that, but these are the main things that are going to get you to $1 million or a 7-figure run rate in sales. If you're tracking these different things, you can identify what is holding you up on getting there. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. And be sure, if this video, added any value whatsoever to you on your entrepreneurial journey, be sure to hit the follow or subscribe. And thank you for watching this video. I hope you have a great day.